All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you may find yourself in the world. My name is Sophia Arend, and I am the Global Blockchain Business Council Senior Analyst. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the GBBC Virtual Members Forum. This is a bi-weekly webinar series the GBBC is hosting with GBBC members around the world to showcase their innovative work and projects. And today we have the pleasure to be joined by STHORM. This is a Brazilian-based research and development lab that is focused on accelerating adoption of digital solutions to create fairer economies, healthier people, and a greener planet. Today we're going to hear more about their project ViralCure. This is an online crowdfunding platform that they launched in partnership with the region's largest hospital to raise funds to tackle the coronavirus. And before I hand things over to STHORM, I would like to briefly introduce our guests and presenters. Mariano Lopez Hermida is an artist and creator. He is a critical thinker and a crypto-friendly hacktivist, based in Buenos Aires, where he is a stable curator of CPU, which is the contemporary art environment, since 2018. He is also the founder of Deep Web Gallery, the Digital Clinique, and the Mother of Devs, and he currently serves as the Chief Creative Officer at STHORM. Camila Rioja is an advisor to STHORM and Chief Operating Officer of Block Bioscience. She's a member of the editorial board of the MIT Computational Law Report and a columnist at Cointelegraph. She is also co-organizer of Sao Paulo Legal Hackers and received her postgraduate diploma in economics for competition law at King's College London and is a member of the Brazilian Bar Association. We're so pleased to have them both with us today. If you have questions at any point during today's presentation, we ask you submit them in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we'll pose them to the presenters. Without further ado, I'd like to hand things off to STHORM. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I miss you from Davos already. Let me just take this brief first minute to congratulate you, Sandra, Mercina, Tamika, for all the amazing work that you have been doing with the series of webinars. Prior to us joining, you were just telling me like how many different webinars you were running depending on the interest of the members and also the general community. So it's not only a pleasure to be here, but also like we feel very grateful for having access to such a top-notch, but also like curated and carefully, thought through process in the times that we're living. We can still have access to valuable information from GBBC. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Thank you to all for making the time. I know you've been incredibly busy with the launch of ViralCure. So we are so eager to hear about how it started and everything STHORM's been doing, and then what its plans are for the future. So I'll let you kick off.
So basically, prior to me jumping off, sending this on to Mariano, so just a brief outline of what we intend here. This is supposed to be a comprehensive yet friendly talk about how STHORM was able to develop this product with Hospital das Clínicas. What were the hurdles doing it? What are the numbers we are able to achieve? What is the whole, mindset behind it? What is the ideology, the philosophy? What is STHORM for those of you who don't know what just said, and how this has been evolving towards the ecosystem? And of course, what are the next steps of the solution within Brazil, within the community, and not worldwide? So with that, I would like to pass the word on to Mariano, who is the best one in town we know, and at STHORM, for talking a little bit about what STHORM is, what is the ideology behind it, and what we're cooking for the next steps.
Mariano, you're muted.
Yeah. I am. And also, I would love to share my screen now. So maybe we can have some visuals in the background that can help us do our introductions. Okay, let's go briefly about STHORM a little bit and what kind of flavor or what are we adding to the scene also, because we really think that sometimes we even get into some kind of difficult arguments and discussions even with projects inside the same ecosystem that we work in, but because we have to be honest, we're not the kind of I don't know, optimistic startup that we're just, I don't know, celebrating technology and the marvelous of human development right now, because we are really like a huge motivation on what we do is that we are not that optimistic about a lot of ways that society is dealing with our biggest problems, you know. So somehow we think that there's a lot of like cheerfulness and an optimist spirit that is being sold around startups and digital solutions, that there is just business as usual, but with some mock-up of, I don't know, edgy technology and the buzzwords like blockchain, crypto, whatever. And so it's very like it's in the center of our quest to try to be very honest about what we do. And we know that there's a lot of things that we don't really like about how things being handled, and times like the pandemic, like what we've been facing in the first part of 2020, and especially maybe like our experience from Latin America is something that we would love to share with everyone, because being with this kind of innovative mindset, a radical technological solution in an ecosystem that has so much of how do you say, there's a conflict like so out there about in between the private sector and the public sector. So it's a lot of things that we would love to share with you guys. I don't know, Camila, if you want to say something about STHORM, maybe from your end.
You actually made me think on one of the rules, right? That you have, or some of them, while you were talking it. And there's a great quote by Mariano that I love, which is being joyfully angry. It's about how you take a look of what's going on. You take whatever you don't agree with, but in a proactive and a, why not, you know, a very active way, and try to propose solutions. So the thing here is not minimizing the impacts of technology and how this plays out in the world and the shortcomings that this have, but actually taking a critical look upon it and saying, okay, do we want to be the next unicorns? No, what do we want here is so to apply this critical thinking to whatever we have nowadays at our hands. And from a personal level, I've done everything from bottom to up inside STHORM, from coffee to discussing high-level strategy, from working inside Hospitales Clínicas, and now I take this advisor role because I'm engaged as a COO, sorry, for Block Bioscience, an amazing startup that is also a member of the GBBC and is doing great work for reopening and helping regain access to, you know, communities, daily business and activities, to allowing individuals to movement freely while allowing businesses to reconnect to what they do and through restart work. But I've learned a lot from the philosophy from STHORM, which I'm very much proud of. And I think what we have here to show is one focus or one way of applying this joyfully angriness towards something that is constructive to what we have. Times are changing, winds are changing, as we always say in STHORM, things are happening. So how do we use what we have in hand to propose something, you know, to copes with the imbalance that we are seeing different levels? So basically what I believe we are here to do is to show and to bring this philosophy that Mariano is introducing with us to practical terms, and okay, let's think what we can do with this technology and where are we heading at this point.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Camila, again, because, and you said something about the acting, and for us it's very important, like the way that we remember in December last year, we were presenting, I don't know, like our humble achievements or our review of the year. And we were totally making some highlight on the act thing, on what it means to act. And especially during 2020, where we've seen all around the world, like manifestations or like people acting out and showing their opinion. So we really think that the decentralization movement and everything that we're part of, it has a lot to do with how are we rethinking governance, like who is taking the decisions and what are the protocols and who is feeding the protocols to make those decisions, like how are we using this amazing technology, like what are the most common uses of AI right now. And probably you're going to name, I don't know, like military nonsense and like advertising maniac movements and even gambling websites that we really don't know if that is the best part to flourish this kind of technology. So we are always also very reminding all the time about the human aspect on how we deal with technology, and again how to act, you know, like how to if you to reach out and to say what we think through our project. And maybe it's a good intro to try to share a little bit more about ViralCure, right? And how was that experience here during the 2020 pandemic. So we have a video about STHORM. It's 5 minutes. I don't know, what do you think, Camila?
I think we already touched in some interesting points that I'm very eager to explore. Perhaps for the end. You said something very interesting, Mariano. If I can catch up onto that, it's about people. Let's do this. So it's about people. In the end, it's all about people, you know, how people react, how people, and to react. And I think this is an important thing for us to point out at this moment of the webinar prior to us, you know, dwelling and diving into, you know, the full content, because these structures and these relations of power, there's something of great relevance when you need to point to one direction or to different directions in a scenario of uncertainty. So who is taking the shots? Who is making the leads? Like, are we sure? Like, what is the best way to contribute on an individual level to an overall, you know, stabilization of a given situation? And we have been discussing scenarios, futuristic scenarios like pandemics, and all sorts of things that will happen to our world and how to tackle that. And it's scenarios of high uncertainty. So how do we want to manage power, decisions, governance? So let's be aware of this specifics and individual points while we dive into this presentation, because this will come in handy to explain what is the motto behind and what is the vision behind the STHORM and why we do what we do.
Yeah, totally. And also we're going to see like totally connected with ViralCure and the two stages that we're going to share, because even what Camila is saying, that is of course is one of our main focus, like these attributes that we always talk about around technology, like transparency and decentralization, and how is that going to be framed inside a project or even a product. And we're going to see that like the difference between how we started and what we did as a reactive technology, like it was the first crowdfunding moment of the early 2020 during the hot moment of the pandemic in Brazil. And then what we're going to launch after that is totally community oriented and it has another focus. So yes, again, like the whole crypto environment, is talking about like how are we going to decide what are the next moves, you know, like the who decides how even a blockchain is going to be operated, like it's going to be the role of the stakeholders and the role of the community or the role of the devs, like who is going to have more, and we're talking about power, you know, like that's why a lot of times it gets very political, because it totally makes sense to be political, because even that almost every personal act also is somehow political. And when we're dealing with power distribution and transparency as a layer of everything, and how is that going to be operated, it totally makes sense that we end up in those alleys, you know?
Very interesting also to point out that blockchain, we all know what it is, we all know how to operate and what are the use cases, but what Mariano is saying here, at least in my years, is let's extrapolate the values, the propositions, and the philosophy behind it to the daily acts that we take, even in an unknown virtual world, as a mean and a way to organize these actions that we are pushing forward. And that I absolutely love.
Totally, and actually, we always also focus on the conflicts because it's important to do it. That's maybe how we express our empathy also. But like even in the crypto world also and the blockchain environment, like there are conflicts inside on how do we rule the blockchain. Even like that's why we have forks. That's why we have projects that end up dividing with different kind of visions. And but for the whole ecosystem or the ecosystem whole, because we really think that we have more things in common, trying to outsmart a lot of the logics that traditional markets and society were being ruled, and we think that we have some more things in common than the things that we want to fight about. Probably depend on the day. Yeah, some days. But this is a quote that maybe can help us think a little bit also, and it says like, the solution should be trying to make the system obsolete and not trying to reform it. And maybe it sounds a little, I don't know, a little too much, but what we're trying to say with this is that if we just create startups that is just like a band-aid to something that we think is rotten and we need to rethink, maybe we are going to end up playing short. And we are going to forget that there's a lot of things in the fundamentals on how we deal with each other and what are the priorities, and how again the power of decision is being distributed is at least questionable. And we're going to give some very specific examples on how we think about this, and also we're going to do it through ViralCure. Like we did it, and we're going to show now, and also we're going to show how are we going to give a response to this, like how to give a response to the power administration, for example, on who decides where the money of a public hospital goes. Okay, is the community going to decide? Is the doctors? Is the professors? Is the funders? Is the people that puts money, the stakeholders? And that decision is something that is at the main core of democracy. What do you say, Camila?
I absolutely love it. And I know it's not the time for the Q&A, but I just love the first question that arrived. I'm very sorry to do this, Sophia, but this is so awesome to do it. An anonymous participant just said, how would you encourage young people who are interested in being part of the solution to get involved? And Mariano, I need to put that on your alley to answer, because that's right, like the timing, because it's prior to the project being done and presented. So this is a question that comes exactly where we want to touch. So Mariano, up to you. And sorry,
it's a good one. No. The answer is that you're already there. Like if you have that kind of interest and you have internet access, and that's the real thing. It all comes down to us being the sons of the internet somehow, and the sons of a collective intelligence. And because behind that, you're going to find right away the internet spirit that is fed by the open source community. And then you're going to get there, because if you have the ability to, again, to send the question live to a webinar that is like being now with, I don't know, from Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo and New York or the States. So having that opportunity of connect each other, the next step of thinking, okay, then let's organize, and and the next step is, okay, let's get together and see how are we going to organize and work on the work frame that we're going to use to play together. You're already there in the open source spirit that is a big part of what we want to share. Nah, that's my humble answer, whatever.
On top of that, just be a volunteer. Send an email to Mariano or to me. What flows from there.
Yeah, be a volunteer. And also, like, just maybe a more direct answer, do whatever. like do whatever it's you feel that is being part of or acting out, like being active in your community, supporting local artists, and trying to at the same time connect with a global community, and being aware of not only like culture, human culture and tech. Also, we are always focusing on how this is part of a huge environmental crisis right now, and like a lot of times the technological environment is not so aware of that. It's just something that comes like at the end, maybe in a line. But we are, again, that's another reason not to laugh too much, like another reason to be angry, another reason to say that we cannot just be cheerful about the technology that we are developing all together in the ecosystem, because we are not doing it right yet. Like the cost of the technological development that we are doing in the past, even 50, 20 years, is still too much for our ecosystem, and it's not for the planet. The planet is going to be cool, even if we are, everyone is dead, but the planet is going to be okay. But we're talking about the whole environmental, like how are we dealing with our home? Like it speaks about us maybe more than I'm worried about the rocks or whatever. So that's another one too that we should be taking care of.
We love talking, Mariano. I just can't help it. One last, because I think it's important, like care, you know, be curious, care. Take a look at what's going on. And if there is something that bugs you in any way, go search, like deep dive.
Totally.
What's that? Who was that built by? What is the aim and what are the principles of that? What are the impacts of that? And along this way, you will connect with people who feel the same way as you feel, but you need to go deep. Like, don't be just, oh, what can I do? What can I do? Don't think about that, just do. And while at it, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, which is another question that we have here. You're going to make a lot of mistakes on a personal and on a professional level, but just like keep going. If you have a goal and a purpose and a proposition, and you understand, you have your eyes open to what's there, you can do like something on your own or with people that, you know, perhaps are your others.
Yeah, and that's key also, like the last part, like the others, because when we're talking, and even when we give these kind of answers, we're very much talking about ourselves. But if we consider, like, if our social awareness is at least leveling our individual awareness, like a lot of your acting is going to be mediated by this kind of framework on what is the impact to the community and in relationship with others, and having that kind of awareness, it's also always a good guidance on how to act. Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about ViralCure. Sophia, please.
No, excellent. I just wanted to let you know that we have like 20 minutes, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about this philosophy, yes. ViralCure, and the tech behind it, and your plans for maybe using blockchain now or in future. Thank you.
Let's. Okay, ViralCure. COVID 2020 was so crazy. Okay, but actually the real thing is that we started with ViralCure like a few years ago already. I remember 2019 Davos, we were presenting this as a cure not only for diseases but for science itself. I remember Pablo saying that there in GBBC, and it was kind of that was the first kickoff that we did globally about the project. And because the project it's actually a community, it's a community with an open source spirit that is trying to bring alternative funding market to the science-oriented projects or science-oriented entities. It can be like an independent lab, or it can be like a huge hospital. But what we're trying to build somehow is a toolkit that can be useful for this kind of science-oriented entities to break free from the traditional funding, because what we know is that who invest rules. So what we would love is to have scientific projects that don't need to follow any kind of political bias or financial needs, you know. So to break them free from those kind of chains is something that we think that can be very much needed in the atmosphere. I don't know, Camila, if you want to do some general intro, maybe.
That's about it. Let's go to the second slide where we can show perhaps the numbers and the face of it, and then come back with some more thought-provoking ideas, such as the one you posed. Oh no, we have the video now.
Yeah, no, we can shoot it whenever. Yeah, maybe it's a good moment to share the video, right?
Excellent. So get to know a little bit more.
Back in early 2020, we had no idea of the extent of transformations the world would face during this pandemic. Our lives have drastically changed in the blink of an eye. Personal contact between family, friends, and co-workers was a life threat. In a race against time, we had to introduce new behaviors to our daily activities. More urgently, hospitals had to restructure themselves to save lives while battling with high-volume emergency needs, reduced elective care, increased prices, and shortages of equipment. Together, academic and research centers are being pressured to find answers by the minute, with far from enough resources to accelerate these findings. Society and markets have new emerging needs and the demand for novel technological solutions, which make it possible for people to safely navigate this scenario with increasing exponentiality. And the hardest part is the underlying context of utmost political and economic uncertainty. These same research institutions are seeking to react to the new social, governmental, and economic norms. Now is the perfect opportunity to reinforce the role of science and its absolute value. But scientific bodies need to reshape themselves to prove their worth within this challenging scenario. The first change was the reorientation and integration of ongoing research to support the fight against coronavirus. Real and urgent needs have become the drivers of research, and these in turn require new skills to be integrated into previously established research methods. For this, a new system is being developed, focusing on creation, design, and scalability of these products and services. This dedicated effort is allowing unparalleled innovation to gain full speed. At the same time, these institutions should position themselves as catalysts for innovation, as their own genesis and mission suggests. The real challenge, then, is to structure a balanced environment between all ecosystem actors, stimulate partnership between the public and the private sectors, enhance the use of various resources available, generate applicable results. This step forward also involves a closer collaboration between research groups of different universities and fields of expertise. Medicine, engineering, technology, and entrepreneurship, integrated into transdisciplinary R&D groups, which enable the rapid development of extraordinary projects. We have seen the implementation of futuristic AI technologies that gives medical access to image pattern recognition algorithms, facilitating the diagnosis of COVID-19. Innovations such as these are essential for improving the quality of healthcare and managing pandemics, especially in a public hospital with a deficient and heterogeneous infrastructure. Another positive example of the association between engineering and medicine is a new model of patient monitoring with an integrated platform and remotely operated electromedical equipment. With this unprecedented scenario of technological innovation, we have launched ViralCure, an alternative funding marketplace platform aimed at decentralizing science funding and transforming its drivers for human impact.
Okay, maybe we can continue a little bit. Camila, what do you say if we share from your end, from our end, sorry, a little bit on how it was the experience, because I don't want to miss that part, you know, like how it was, because we actually I was watching the video and I was thinking like this looks like something that is about to happen but never happened, and this totally happened in Brazil, and I think it would be amazing to share like the real case of use that we did. And to be very short on that, we again, the project, the original project ViralCure, was up and running somehow is for 2 years now. But this pandemic came, and we needed to act. But we needed, in this case, it was a reactive technology because the context was there and we could not just think about our ideal project. So what we did, we came up with a crowdfunding tool for hospitales clínicas that is one of the largest public hospital in Latin America. And so what we did was basically a crowdfunding platform in which people could come and donate. And I think that maybe Camila was totally in the front line there in Sao Paulo inside the hospital and can share a little bit about the experience that it was around ViralCure.
Yeah, very briefly. So it's very challenging times, and I need to say that, but also like an amazing opportunity. So by the time the pandemic hit, what did we do? We thought critically, we got technology that we have. We took a look at the regulatory landscape of what we have in Brazil, what was possible and not possible to do. And if you have time, I love to like just share some of, of the recent developments with the our SEC regulatory sandbox or central bank regulatory sandbox, how these all opportunities will play out together to foster an ecosystem, even with other administrative bodies that will enhance projects that have the core scope that we have and some other amazing opportunities. Because now Brazil, and this is some of the questions that we have here, I'm also taking the chance to reply. Yes, the project is born in Brazil, but as Mariano says, this platform is surely going to become open source and open source with different tools. So this is not a crowdfunding platform. The crowdfunding mechanism is one of the single features of alternative funding methods. What's behind that is all that story we have been discussing about politics, voting, rights, shares, investing, who is allowed to invest. And one of the things that we are doing here is not see this, this is a donation because it's a crowdfunding, but this is just the beginning. What we want to do is to give access to what only 2% of the population has, which is the right to invest. Okay, so what did we do here? Early in the pandemics, myself and a number of volunteers from STHORM, we went to inside Hospital das Clínicas. We became part of a war room for donations. We did use, all the technology at our hands and our communication power to enhance the donations, and the numbers are there and they're amazing. Through the platform only is over 30 million reais. If we sum up what was by the platform and also donated as services directly to the hospital and of the kind is more than 10 million reais. From that money, STHORM nor ViralCure retain one single pence or penny or cent or in any kind of currency that you may allot. And pesos, there's something about the infrastructure that we don't custody the money, we don't retain fees or nothing of the kind. This money was all directed to Hospital das Clínicas with no intermediation. More than that, we were able to host, I don't know, maybe 50 lives. What we did was creating a community. And this is what any like crypto project did. So we are happy, in a way to, although not using blockchain in this very first instance of the project due to regulatory landscape and the urgency of bringing this to Hospital das Clínicas. And this is not true for the second moment of the platform, which Mariano will say. But it was amazing. It's people acting together as a community and also like choosing the projects that they want to invest. So Mariano, if you can go back like only for 1 second. Inside here, we have the missions. Okay, so you go through the mission, you see what the hospital is in need of. Do I need respirators? Do I need EPIs? Do I need whatever? And then I take a look of the situation and I make a choice. I'd like to see my money employed on that way. So this is something that's very relevant, when we talk about governance and everything that's related to crypto. So from a personal standpoint, it was challenging and amazing to stay almost 3 months inside Hospital das Clínicas while the pandemic was hitting off, and also to see this exercise of, in a way, you know, collaboration and governance. That will be the foundation for phase 2 of the project that Mariano will, you know, address shortly.
Yes, totally. I don't know, Sophia, let us know, of course, always if we're talking too much or you want to change the subject, but maybe to try to be a quick, like, brief on this, because we're about to launch our new version of ViralCure, because like we said, the previous version was just the crowdfunding tool because we needed to move fast, and actually it was a humble success. Again, it's not much to yet to, I don't know, to celebrate, because we really know that the tool is on its early beginnings, and what we're going to develop now and what we're going to present and going live probably around September, October. It's a new platform that is going to, of course, integrate the crowdfunding tool, but it's totally going to be in a different context, because what we're going to deliver now is the one that we've been working since represented at GBBC in Davos, and that's the blockchain oriented platform, in which what we're going to do is we're going to create these community oriented features that are going to allow people inside the community of Hospital das Clínicas to choose where they want the money to go. So we are not going to ask for people to give us their money or people to collaborate directly with the hospital. What we're going to do now is to give them the power. Actually, it's not giving them, it's just creating the tool in the middle for them to express the power that they already have. And the way that we are thinking this right now, we don't want to show too much, because of course we want to do like the big kickoff and whatever, but the profile is going to be very important in this new version, because what we're going to do is to create a gamification aspect around the participation and the activity of the community members around one special feature that is going to be the cure power. So everything you do inside the platform is going to give you cure power. So the more you collaborate, the more you post, the more you, and it's going to be budget oriented also, mainly like Reddit. We are totally okay with admitting that we are super fans of the project and like how Karma operates, and trying to bring, again, blockchain technology and transparency on top of a health-oriented and scientific-oriented community like this one. It totally makes sense to us. And I don't know, Camila, if you want to share something about this, or maybe I can talk a little bit more.
Go for it. It's the most relevant part. So it's a shift in the behavior. It's a shift in the mindset. Who is, like, where does money come from? So I'm an agency that, I'm a company that spends $500 million a year worldwide to, you know, support different causes or different individuals. So this money, it's actually something that, why not applied, you know, to projects that create interest in an overall community. And you as an individual, what do? You give your time, your interest, you click the Mariano's collectivism, and you're there and you learn, and by that you're going to receive what back? So tokens that will allow you, you know, to perform different actions and so on and so forth within the ecosystem. So this is a very important change. Like, companies, they spend a lot of money supporting what they believe it's interesting for the people. Shouldn't we show actually what we really are interested, what we really want to see happening? Like what we want. So it's more ads of bikinis and so on and so forth, or do we want like access to health or to treatments? Do you want to democratize and give access to young professionals, young scientists, the money so they can perform, you know, their experiments and help us advance in the direction that we are moving forward? So this is very relevant of Mariano's to put, and a key component of the blockchain proposition and philosophy that we stand for.
Yes, and also how to create some kind of sense of horizontality. I don't even know if that's a word, but like how to make the professor be in the same ecosystem as a student, a medicine student, and as a researcher in the same space as an activist or someone that wants to collaborate or participate from the community, and how are they going to relate with each other, and why not give them some space to do it, some safe space and the right tools, and not only that, create the engagement dynamics that can create this leverage, and also this cure power somehow that they're going to have inside the platform. And we think that's also something that is going to come probably in the next years, the next 5-10 years, probably 5, that is the place that the experience of a crypto wallet, you know, like how are we going to experience balance ourselves? Like already in Asia, there's a lot of this situation going on biometrics, and how are they administrating as a community the score of your activity inside the community. And of course, this is a very tricky issue, and it can get, and it should make us have like strong discussions about this, because we're talking about also human rights, we're talking about liberty, freedom, and it's very delicate. But let's think about this biometrics and this bioscore, you know, because this is something that is definitely coming, and maybe the question again is like, who is going to rule this kind of technology? Like, who is going to administrate this kind of power or biometrics or bioscore? Like, it's going to be the state, it's going to be some private enterprise that you can trust or maybe not trust, because they're just about profit. And that is something that for STHORM is super important, that we are totally impact oriented. And that means that we want to create open source technology that for the people to decide how they want to use it. And because we know that it's a delicate thing, but we want to do it, and we want to do it also even as an experiment. Okay, this maybe is not the solution, because maybe we're not selling the solution. We are experimenting together on social oriented tools to help the scientific community and to help them rule also the developments. I think, Camila, you wanted to say something.
No, because this is the perfect setting for us to answer to our last question. Somebody asked, how do you educate tech-naive people about the solutions? You know, how do you trust something that you don't really understand? So this is why it's relevant, and I'm going back to exactly what we are discussing. What we are using is the traditional market strategy. You have marketing money. This marketing money goes to a gamified crypto wallet where you, by giving attention, is rewarded for that attention. And this is it. It's the same approach that you have regularly. You're swiping your browser or your phone or using any apps and giving your attention, and that rewards someone. This is going to reward you, and this money is from the marketing side. So this is very friendly. You know, we're building on top of what exists, but providing a new meaning to this very same application. This is only one way that we see, you know, this alternative funding method and actually marketplace, because that's what we are, an alternative crowdfunding, an alternative funding method marketplace. This is one of the tools, in one of the ways that we find financial and economic incentives, and we yet make it very friendly for people who are unaware of crypto technology to join on board on us. And also to like cope with that, we have a very particular and good regulatory landscape towards the world, and especially in Brazil. So in the next months and in the beginning of 2021, which is when we are launching this marketplace, we're going to have here exactly the perfect, you know, framework, the legal and regulatory framework to settle this in Brazil, and then from here extrapolate to other parts of the world with this open source solution that Mariano is bringing.
Hi, just as we're coming up on the hour, I'd like to ask you one question. You know, what you spoke about what it was like to work with a major hospital, but what advice would you give to other tech companies or tech startups when it comes to partnering with major organizations, particularly public organizations that are notorious for having high levels of bureaucracy and moving slowly. I mean, in the case of ViralCure, you were in the war room and you got things off the ground very quickly with a project that existed, but in a completely different form from maybe what you had been doing. If you could speak to that experience, what you learned from that, and the advice you would give to others. Thank you.
I think that's you, Camila. I would love to know your end on that.
So then we see the applicability of, faster, more reliable and transparent ways of dealing with issues in the real world. Because this is, in a way, is what we brought. We brought the legal certainty and security and all the documents. This is a partnership that was publicized in the official Gazette prior to anything like starting. So we did go through the traditional ways of, leveraging or negotiating any type of help. But again, we understand the technology. We know what it is. We know what could, from a technological standpoint, cause any type of questioning. As I told you, we didn't custody the money. We didn't touch the money. We did it in a way, we applied the technology towards serving a real problem in the best and most efficient way that we could. And this is legally defensible. And this is very interesting for GBBC community and for the crypto community as a whole. You need to take a look at the real world problems and say, I know how to fix this. Sometimes you're going to, have any types of friction with laws and legislations because they are not so fast. But this is what's coming up now. But you are able to do carve-outs. This is what we mean here. We're taking the ideology, the principles, and we are applying the very first phase 1, where we could not use crypto, but we will, shortly. So we need to be able to know what we are doing, know where we are going, and sometimes make some compromises. It was something that I never expected to, see happen in such a short time. Without Hospital das Clínicas, for those of you who don't know, is the largest hospital in Latin America. It's over 30,000 people working there. It's a small city, and it's all related to saving people, to studying. They are also connected to the best university. It's Brazilian MIT. It's called USP, Faculdade da USP. This is the powerhouse that we are talking about here. This is what engaged people in the amount of 30 million reais. And again, legislation is a concern, but if we are able to look critically and make the carve-outs, it's safe. We can go there. But again, the advice is know your technology, know your product, know what the legal and regulatory landscape is, make sure to follow through and be very transparent. And this is the way that you can engage. And we hope this happens not only here in Latin America, but throughout the world. Again, this will be this first tool and all the others, but first, this first tool is going to be open source. We can do this type of crowdfunding for any hospital, for any college. What we need is people interested in giving their vote, in reading about it, in getting interested about, scientific methods and scientific ways and studies and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for posing the question. I hope I have answered, but to some extent, what we want, it's exactly that, demystify and be able to provide reliable and credible solutions that may be high tech, but sometimes they will be high philosophy. They will bring out the philosophy and set the stone in the ground for when the regulatory is ready for it. And I think we have accomplished.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, it's clear STHORM is guided by very strong principles, but that you don't just implement tech for tech's sake. I mean, it's there to serve a purpose. Mariano, any final words you'd like to say or ideas you'd like to leave us with before we close out?
Yes, maybe that we think that it's important to find moments for both, for getting along and also for fighting a little bit. And let me tell you something about what Camila was giving, perfect answer. I really couldn't done better. But let's think about this private and public thing and public sector thing. And maybe, I don't know, even the case of SpaceX, that they are developing a technology that now NASA is not developing. But this is the thing, they're competing, but they're playing together. And something pretty similar was happening here with ViralCure during the pandemic. You know, like the private sector was totally collaborating with the public sector, with the public hospital through a solution that was, I don't know, coordinated by us being somehow a non-profit development in that case, because that was how it was framed. And so if we find the keys to play together in this harmonic way, I think it's a good place where we can find and have both moments of arguments and agreements, and we are very much enthusiastic about that.
Thank you so much. This project is a testament to how the community has stepped up, and with that I mean the tech and the blockchain community specifically, to tackle a very real problem in real time, and also to the strength of public-private partnerships and how important they can be. So thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We will share the link to ViralCure so you can learn more, and we will keep you all posted on ViralCure's progress. I also encourage you to join us for the GBBC's Blockchain Central UNGA, UNGA being the United Nations General Assembly. This is an official, we are official partners, the GBBC, of the UN Foundation's Global Goals Week, and have an agenda that touches on all of the SDGs and the role of technology and community in accelerating progress towards them. And we are so pleased that STHORM will be joining us. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, Camila and Mariano, for your time, and thank you to the STHORM team that's not here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. Always
Camila.
a pleasure.
See you.
Thank you.